Good morning. This is CipherShell with the Daily Cyber Intelligence Report for December 16th, 2025. Priority is routine. Bottom line up front, SoundCloud confirmed a breach affecting up to 20% of its users, with credible reporting tying the intrusion and extortion to shiny hunters, though exposed data appears limited to emails and public metadata. Researchers also identified Santa Stealer as a lightly modified blue line info stealer with weak OPSEC, reducing its long-term threat despite active underground promotion. On the nation-state front, Amazon Threat Intelligence detailed a multi-year GRU APT44 campaign against U.S. infrastructure, leveraging edge device misconfigurations and Hyper-V abuse for EDR evasion. Separately, contractor OPEXUS admitted failures in background screening that allowed insiders with prior fraud convictions to sabotage and exfiltrate sensitive DHS, FOIA, and IRS data. General news. SoundCloud published a security notice yesterday stating that a threat actor breached SoundCloud's environment and obtained a user database for up to 20% of its users. SoundCloud states the only data taken was email addresses and public profile metadata. However, Lawrence Abrams of Bleeping Computer says that the threat actor group, Shiny Hunters, is behind the attack and extortion, per his source. Rapid7 Labs published a malware analysis report for Santa Stealer, a simple rebrand of Blue Line Stealer. The malware Santa Stealer uses data collection modules, each running in its own thread, writing stolen data to memory, archiving it into a zip file, and then exfiltrating it in 10 megabyte chunks to a hard-coded command and control endpoint via port 6767. However, the Russian-speaking Santa Stealer team has poor OPSEC, and samples of the code have already leaked, showing researchers this in-memory malware is not as undetectable as it advertises. Domestic events and incidents. Amazon Threat Intelligence shared insight of its tracking APT44 over the past 5 years and the group's attacks on U.S. infrastructure. The team found the Russian GRU APT44, aka Frozen Barents, Sandworm, Seashell Blizzard, and Voodoo Bear, would exploit misconfigured edge network appliances, whether on-prem or in cloud, to gain initial access into the environment. Then they would use credential harvesting via passive packet capture to perform lateral movement. The Amazon team believes the GRU used the Sandworm team to gain initial access into the environment, then utilized the Curly Comrades team to perform Hyper-V abuse for EDR evasion and then implant custom curly shell curlcat shells. Federal contracting company OPEXUS, located in Washington, D.C., hired Munib and Sohib Akhtar in 2023 and 2024, who went on to exfiltrate and destroyed 96 DHS and FOIA databases on February 18, 2025, after being fired earlier that day. However, these brothers already had a criminal history of wire fraud from 2015, which OPEXUS's 7-year background check should have shown. Munib also exfiltrated IRS records of at least 450 individuals. There are no international events and incidents to report on today. No ISVM data. Watchlist events. There is a House Committee on Foreign Affairs meeting today at 10 o'clock titled Hybrid Warfare in Europe Against U.S. Interests, Moscow and Beijing's Playbook. Also, there is a House Subcommittee hearing on cybersecurity and infrastructure protection at 10 o'clock tomorrow, titled The Quantum, AI, and Cloud Landscape, Examining Opportunities, Vulnerabilities, and the Future of Cybersecurity. Analyst comments. It is interesting to see how the foreign intelligence threat actors compartmentalize and specialize their respective teams for initial access exploitation, then another for lateral movement, and then another for persistence. This shows maturity, standardization of processes, and a systematic approach to attacks. Secondly, OPEXUS, a federal contractor who is responsible for sensitive data for our country, choosing to look away at the Akhtar brothers' criminal background is horrifying and bewildering to the everyday American. However, when one looks at the C-suite, one sees both the CTO and CIO are Indian. Is this another case of in-group preference of Indians and South Asians? Either way, this is another incident of foreigners compromising sensitive national security data. Allowing foreign-born individuals access to this data is foolish. This is the report for December 16th, 2025. Thank you. Have a great day. God bless.